Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I clean out my airbrush machine, take it apart, and then put it back together. Well, not the machine, the gun itself. And as you can see, it has edible ink all in it. You probably can't see it down there, but it's all dark. There's edible ink all in here. You know, the stuff gets everywhere. Just even now, me touching it, it's getting everywhere. So what you're gonna need for this is obviously your airbrush gun. And I would say one of these. You can usually find it when you purchase your airbrush gun. I purchased mine on Amazon. I'll have a link below of the actual airbrush machine that I use. I have like a heavy duty art one, and that I only use for cakes. And also I'll probably even, as I'm editing this video, I'll put a picture over here on the side of what mine's look like. And so yeah, you could find these little brushes here online or even at your local store in the cleaning aisle. So you're gonna wanna get one of these, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and move over to the sink, and I'm gonna take this apart and clean it out. And then we'll come back over here and I'll put it back together. Actually, let's go ahead and take it apart here so you can see all the pieces, and then we'll go over to the sink. I'll rinse them out, and then we'll come back here and put it together. Now, I don't know the technical names to all these. There is a manual that usually comes with it that tells you what each part is, but I don't make it a point to remember. I just remember the assembly part, and it's really helpful to remember how to assemble your airbrush gun, because by not remembering, you kind of get a little screwed by trying to put all the pieces back together, and then your airbrush gun won't work properly. And you want to do this, you want to clean out your airbrush gun every time you're done using it, because what ends up happening is in this front part here that I'm just taking apart, your ink gets stuck in there, and it gets stuck all here, and it gets stuck all down there. It dries, and then you don't want that. And then also on the needle, if you can see the needle, how there's that edible ink right there. Yeah, that all clogs the gun. So when you're trying to airbrush with it, it won't airbrush correctly, or it won't airbrush at all. Oh, I just stuck myself. Or won't airbrush at all, and you'll see how it, when you're trying to push down on it, you could feel that it's kind of stuck, that something's muttered in there. So yeah, so these are all the pieces here, and we're gonna go ahead and wash these off really good, thoroughly, and put them back together. All right, so now let's make our way to the sink. Alrighty, hopefully you guys can hear me over the water. So what I do is I use soap, dishwashing soap, and the little scrubber that I showed you guys, and I use warm water, and I scrub them down. And you want to do as good of a thorough job as you possibly can. Make sure you have a stopper in your sink so none of the little pieces go down, because that would suck, because they don't sell these pieces separately. And then I put it on a paper towel. Yeah, they don't sell any of these pieces separately. You would have to buy a whole new airbrush gun. And they sell different types. Again, down below, I'll put the number of airbrush gun I use, the model. Now with this one, you want to run water down here. Run the water down, and it's out of screen right now, but you could probably see that little tip right there. I'm trying to get water to come out of it. You could probably see a little bit of that off the screen. You want to just run some water through down this and make sure it comes out clear. You see how the water's coming out clear now? And just kind of scrub in there a little bit. Rinse it out. All right. Now, this is the piece that goes to the front. It actually is 2 pieces, right? If you didn't know that, now you do. It's actually 2 pieces. This is the front piece. So you see how all that pink ink is in there? Yeah, you don't want to carry that on to the next cake if your cake is yellow. So I'm going to clean these off, scrub them down. You remember, you're using this on food products, so that's why you want to wash your airbrush gun. If not for the clogging, for the sanitary reasons. Okay, so I have all my pieces washed. Now I will say the pieces that I did not wash is this spring. I don't wash the spring because this will get rusty, so I don't wash that. You could wipe it down, but I wouldn't wash it. And I didn't wash this piece here. This goes inside the gun, only because with the screws and stuff, I didn't want it to get rusty either. So I just wipe it down. Okay, so let's go back to the table and put all the pieces together. Pieces. Now I'm just going to dry them off. Wipe them down. And what really helps also, as you're airbrushing, I keep a food grade clear alcohol next to me. So as I'm airbrushing, I can pour in my alcohol. I use Everclear. I can pour my alcohol in the little tube here, and it will rinse out the previous color that's in it, so I can add my next color. So that's what I do. That's how I change up my colors. So I'll put the Everclear in here, a couple of drops of Everclear. I'll let the airbrush gun go off and make sure that the liquid that's coming out of it is clear. And then once it's clear, then I go ahead and add my next color in here. So that way I'm not mixing, you know, pinks and yellows, blues and greens and stuff. Now the thing is that you can run paper towel down here just to dry it off really good, because it will have water still in it, or you can just turn your airbrush machine on and let the air run through it. You see all the color on my paper towel? And you want to make sure you try to get as much water off of it as possible, because you don't want any of these things to rust. Okay, so now let me lay these all out for you so you can see what we're working with. Grip, well, the finger grip, okay? And if you can see, there's a little hole down there. You could see straight through it. You see my hand? You can see straight through that little hole. That's where this goes. So I put the grip in. And you see where the grip is here? Mind you, these are just names I'm making up. You see the lines here? That's the grip on your hand. I'm putting that on the back part. If I can just get this little round part through that little round part in there, that would be great. Okay, so now it's in there, right? Now, let me show you. You see here in this little grip, there is a hole. That hole is where your needle slides through, okay? So make sure you put it in and it gets down in that little hole down there, and now it's in there. Okay, This is the part the tube connects to on the compressor, and this is the part that locks in here. So now I'm going to add that in here, and now you can see I can push down on it, right? So now I'm going to add my needle straight in, and remember you got to go through that little hole. You just kind of feel your way around, go straight in. Now, and it's come out the other end here. Now the thing about this needle is when you're putting this together, if you push it too far in and tighten the screws too much, when you go to use your airbrush machine, the color won't come out, or it will come out but blotchy. So you really have to play around with it to make sure that you're not putting the screws too tight, because if you put the screws too tight, that adjusts how this needle sits in this little front part up here, and that messes up how the ink comes out. So you want to be careful with that. So now I got my needle in here, and now I'm going to put thingamabobber number 2 in here. This part here, let me make sure I'm focusing, this part here is going to go in first, okay? Try not to pull this part off. Keep this part on. And when I put it in, I'm going to put it in with the top part. That's the top part facing forward. Okay, and it just slides right on the needle. Remember, top part facing forward. So it'll slide in. If you don't do that, what'll happen is it won't go in properly. And this needs to sit here in this little hole. Okay, that's the trigger. So top part in. Okay. Now I can't get it in. There it goes. All right. So now you see how that top part is sitting up against the grip handle there. So you want to make sure that's how it looks. That's that top part. Right? So this isn't screwed in or anything. It's just sitting up against it. So now we're going to take our spring, slide our spring on. Slide our screw on over the spring. And this is the part that I was mentioning about not doing it too tight. You want to just be careful with it, right? This isn't even all the way. This, I would say it stopped right here and it can keep going, but I don't want it to keep going. So I'm going to let it sit right there. You see, now you have that springy action. Okay, that's how you check to make sure that it's right. Make sure you can push down on this and make sure you have a springy action. You see how this is all screws and stuff back here? The lines to fit a screw. I'm going to put that part on. And this one, along with the previous one we put on, those two are the ones you want to make sure are not too tight and make sure it's tight enough. Again, like I said, you got to play around with doers, tighten it, put some ink in it, spray it, see how it comes out. Okay, and now we put the cover on. Alrighty, now we need to cover our needle. Remember, it's 2 parts. So here's the first part. And the cover for the first part. And there we go. We've now reassembled back our airbrush gun. If you want to see what I'm doing on a daily basis, follow me on my Instagram, yes_ma'am_sweets, and my apparel Instagram, morecakeym. You can go ahead and hit that like button also. Go ahead, you know you want to do it. Just hit the like button, show me some love. Don't be a hater.